I'm finally going to build a piece of furniture with lumber that I milled, and I am excited about this one. So this is some silver maple that I milled 3+ years ago. I can't wait to get into it. It's going to have some amazing compression figures, some ambrosia beetle damage, and maybe some cool other stuff. So let's get into this one. I want to let the lumber do the talking, so I don't want to go too crazy with the design. I'm liking these shaker-style end tables. I really like the look of them, and I'm also liking the look of ones that don't have a front rail, so it's just a drawer face on the front with nothing underneath it. I've never done anything like that, and we're going to take that approach. I don't have a specific size I need for these, so what I'm going to do is just look into some things around my house and kind of get a general sense of that, and then I'll go to the internet and see what standard is. I need a quality sketch first. That is my first step, so I'm going to do that with some pencil and paper. This is what I came up with. I think this achieves the simple design. I feel good about this sketch, but it is going to highlight the lumber in the way that I want. Now, for this, we're going to do solid wood drawers, drawer bottoms, and the whole table. Everything's going to be all out of this figured silver maple. The drawers will have a groove in the sides that'll slide on another piece of wood. I really like wood-on-wood drawer slides. I'll have to come up with something to keep the drawers from falling all the way out when you pull them out, but that's something that I did not draw up, so we're going to figure that out as we go. It's always fun working with different species of lumber, but it's even more fun that I cut this myself. I was able to get access to some downed trees that were headed for a massive chipper pile. These logs presented the first chance to use my new chainsaw mill, and I was psyched about how everything looked off the mill. Now, it needed to dry, so fast forward 3+ years, and these air dried in my driveway and got moved 2 hours north to our current location, where I moved them indoors to continue drying. The lumber is now around 12% moisture content, so ready enough for me to begin breaking it down. First, the lumber hits the joiner on an edge and a face, then the planer for the opposite face, then the table saw for the opposite edge, and just like that, you have a nice square board that no longer wobbles like it did when I first got it out. This step gets me to a good point where I can see all the boards and begin deciding which ones make up which pieces in the end table. I love working with this silver maple. It's very similar to a hard maple, but it's actually from the soft maple family, so it's easier on the blades and gives you a similar look. This stuff, since I milled it, all comes rough cut around 2 1/4 inches, so that gives me the freedom to cut any part I want out of any piece of lumber. So as I get them flattened and I see what kind of cool stuff I'm working with, I can include that on any part of the project. So say there's some ambrosia beetle damage and I want to include that in the top. Well, I can set that board aside. But then I want the 2 front legs to match and to be from that same piece. Well, I can do that because they're 2 1/4 inches thick. For any of the thinner stock, I am going to have to resaw at the bandsaw. I need to highlight some of the interesting characteristics in this wood. I have 2 examples here. In this bottom piece, there is a very nice bark inclusion. And in the top piece, it features some heartwood and some sapwood. And you can also see when I tip this back and forth, maybe the compression figure, it kind of gives it a 3D effect. I really need to balance the cool features and some of the more basic stuff. A lot of the decisions are made now on which pieces to use, and you can see a lot of these labeled here, and you can see some of the really incredible figure being shown in this project. I start by prepping all pieces for my tops. Then I need to arrange them and decide if I like the book-matched grain. To get this started, I need to resaw on the bandsaw, and then I can lay them all out. This is prepping the leg pieces. I need to chop them all shorter, close to the length that they're going to be, and then I need to rip them on the table saw so they're roughly 2 by 2 squares. This is all the pieces laid out and in their final dimensions. So this is a cool part in the project where you look at everything and you can kind of see the vision start to come together. But 2 things need to happen before I'm done. First is this glue up. I have to glue up the tops so that I get the width that I need. I have all those pieces picked out. Now I just need to join them together. This piece was supposed to be a throwaway, but I just couldn't do it. I was looking at it, and the way the live edge lined up, I thought, I just need to use this. So I decided to include it in the piece. I peeled off the bark and decided to include it as one of the back legs. I need to put some joinery into this project so I can actually put these pieces together and make a table. I'm feeling great about this project right now. Things are rolling along just the way I want, and what could get in my way? These legs, that's what. After the dry fit, I'm really disappointed with how this table looks. The legs are too thick and don't fit based on the look I want. This is the point in the project where I tend to start doubting myself, questioning if it's worth continuing, and just wanting to quit, honestly. However, there's always a solution, and in this case, it's tapering the legs. I can't alter the dimensions at the top, but the bottom is able to be altered. This actually fits really well when comparing to other shaker-style end tables. A lot of those use tapered legs, so I think this is a great solution. I'm going to taper at the bandsaw. I'll cut the first taper, tape it back on with some painter's tape, and then cut the second taper. And after that, I need to run all the pieces with the sander and an 1/8" round over where applicable. And you know what? I didn't really feel like filming sanding and rounding over. So look at that. The pieces are all done. They're all rounded over and sanded nice. And I guess now we better glue up. While I glue up, I want to take a moment to share our sponsor for this video, Cone Furnishings. Cone Furnishings has been taking logs that other people consider garbage and making them into beautiful pieces for your home since 2019. They currently have some excellent items in their shop and would also greatly benefit from you subscribing to their channel. Thanks, Cone Furnishings, for being our favorite sponsor of all time. At this point, I'm starting to remember that end tables are pretty difficult. They take a fair amount of time. You get to this point in them where you're like, oh, I feel like I should be, wrapping up. And you have a big void where the drawer goes still. And the drawer is mostly unseen. You see just the face of it. But there's all this going on behind there with how the drawer fits, how the drawer looks inside, and everything like that. So that's the point where you just got to keep trucking through the project. And I remember when I first got into furniture making, I felt like these should be pretty simple because they're smaller builds. But they're pretty complex behind the scenes. It's time to get after these drawers. On all my pieces, ideally, I like to use oil wax finish as opposed to varnishes and polyurethanes. This gives the wood a more natural look and feel. It's the way to go, especially when I have highly figured, unique wood grain to highlight. And I love finally seeing the grain and the figure really pop when you apply the finish. This part of the project is super fun and satisfying to just see what everything looks like after all the hard work that went into these tables. These tables and this wood did not disappoint. I'm thrilled that I milled this stuff up and made a furniture piece out of it. All that's left now is to attach the tops and take the sexy shots.
Rhea, take it away.
You want to tell them thank you?
We are so glad that you stuck with Brian until this point in the video. I'm not. Okay. We are so glad that you stuck with Brian throughout this whole video. And before we show you the pretty shots of the tables, just wanted to say thank you. And please like this video, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.